Okay. Although I haven't heard that automated voice saying you're now being recorded, in the upper left-hand corner it says webinar is now streaming live on YouTube.
Yeah,
So
it's two different things. Recording
yeah.
and streaming are two different things. Yeah. There you go.
Yes. So with that, I'm going to call to order the February 3rd meeting of the Economic Development Committee at 7:30. We do have quorum, although not nearly as full of a committee as usual. I'm going to just take a roll call vote. Those people who are here as I see them on screen. Chris Robbins.
Here.
Alan Belniak.
Here.
Matt Berger.
Here.
Rob Anderson here as well. Okay, excellent. So I'm going to hop right into the agenda. Did call it to order. The chair report. I did attend the Board of Selectmen meeting earlier this week. It was an interesting conversation. I think from my perspective, the EDC's vision and the select board's vision is the same. That is the continue to apply for grants to advance the initiatives of strategic development, particularly on Route 9, and kind of making sure that when we do things, we do them collaboratively with some of our other partners. Those are partners like Shopsy, Capital, and the Planning Board. And as such, I was hopeful that there would be some decisions made upon the EEA grant and the one-stop grant, such as getting decisions made sooner rather than later. And I think the outcome is going to be that for the one-stop grant, we're going to be on the agenda for the planning board coming up next week. I believe it was the 7th, although I'd have to double check that. And we'd also be on Shopsy, I think, or Capital the week after, so that our expression of interest submission would happen on February 11th. So we would get the feedback from them. Now, the expression of interest is not the final application, and it can adjust from the town's vision based upon feedback from the state. Where I think I had voiced, and I'm giving some context to the select board meeting, so you don't have to watch it. I was hopeful that we could get the feedback from the state sooner and allow that to inform the application before, getting full feedback from our partners. I think the select board really hopes that we get the feedback from our partners, go to the state for their feedback, and then bring it back to our partners for the application. So I think that was a reasonable compromise on my part as chair. So I just want to let people know about that. As for the EEA grant, there were some discussion items about project management and how best to employ that. I think the EDC in earlier meetings had agreed that in order to streamline the process and not exceed the number of hours for our economic development coordinator, Marika, that a project manager would be a good idea. The select board has not signed the EEA grant yet because they wanted the EDC to have a more thorough, comprehensive discussion about project management and how we would address that. One member of the select board wondered if it would be wise to have an OPM handle that instead of just a project manager. So that is one of the things that we will discuss coming up on the agenda underneath discussion. But that was one of the
What does
key things.
OPM stand for?
Alan, you're gonna have to help me out here.
Officer, project manager or something?
I'm wondering myself. I mean, I mean, I know
Operational project manager.
I believe so, yes.
I'm surprised they didn't expand the acronym in the discussion to make sure everyone knew what they were
What do
talking
you think
about.
it stands for?
Operational project manager.
Oh, there you go. That sounds good.
I mean, but you could just say project manager, which is exactly what we're talking about. So I don't understand the context of the comment, but
Well, it's a bit more so an OPM with an expertise in septic and sewerage, because if this is a successful project going forward on Route 9, it could lead to more in-depth, more strategic, and more investment. So
can we comment on now, or do you need to finish your report before we comment?
can we wait for the discussion?
Yep.
It's
Okay.
the first
No, that's
up
fine.
afterwards. I was just going to give a little bit of context of that. I think the two other things we talked about, the EDC budget, they seemed relatively okay with, really no questions. They're definitely on board with the EDC and Board of Selectmen holding business visits. But there were, like I said, two things that were key for them. One is to make sure that we got our comments from our other boards for the one-stop grant, and make a final determination on project management for the EEA grant. So that is a summary, brief. I got on at 9:30 and I was there until like 10:20. It was a long meeting. So there may have been neutrons being fried in my brain as a result. So hopefully I summarized everything well. Are there any questions on the report?
On your report?
Yeah.
No, can we make a comment about it or?
Yes. Yep.
Well, first of all, I thought you did an excellent job, Rob, and I think the board wholeheartedly put its full support behind you and the EDC to move forward. There was keen interest and everybody was unanimous sooner rather than later in many ways in terms of moving out on this endeavor. I thought it demonstrated real confidence by the Board of Selectmen that this is a priority in their mind. And I mean, there are all sorts of feedback coming up through town hall about how taxes are going to go up and these opportunities to get grants that we need to move quickly on. And the fact that we demonstrated we've already raised over $320,000 in grant money, which I think outstrips almost any of the other committees, but demonstrates our ability to get things done and save the town money. As demonstrated in the town budget, for us, we didn't show any increase and we have really a tiny budget compared to anybody else. So they were very confident and supportive of that. They also made a statement about Marika, and Claire, and said, it's your choice to how you want to move forward. They weren't trying to, they wanted to make sure that was our decision process. In my interpretation, it was clear, whoever you want to pick. And so, and I think the fact that they wanted us to get more comments, I thought it was, in one context, you know the system better than anybody at the State House or the state government about how these things get done. But they wanted to get real input from the other committees. And I think now we've got to move full steam ahead to meet the timeline that we have to get this in. But it was clear they were behind this and they were confident about your sense of direction and where we were heading. So I thought it was a positive step forward, and they acknowledged the success of the special town meeting and what the town is, the town itself has made a clear statement about moving forward and getting things done. So those are my 2 cents.
Thanks, Chris. Alan?
So first I have a question, because I think I heard you say something and then I heard Chris summarize something differently. So I just want to make sure.
Yes, Chris was right. It was a positive meeting.
No. That's not the part I was asking about.
Oh, okay.
The part I was going to ask about was, so is the decision up to us about who we hire to manage the EEA grant?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So then I'll still hold my comment. I'll still share my comment, but my question goes away. It just seems like that for anyone involved in town, we need to balance the need for a search for an OPM, PS, if anyone can define what that is, 2 points to you, but a project manager for this versus the remaining time we have to use before we lose the money. So to be clear, the way I understand it, and I'm happy to be corrected if I'm incorrect, we have a grant of money. We have to spend it within a certain time or we lose it. This is free money for us to use, and we have to spend it within a certain time. So we can continue to look for a 3-letter acronymed person to manage this thing, or we can go with someone we've already used. We can continue to spend time and define and talk about every 2 weeks at every other meeting and continue to spend time to do that. Or we can just start, because we've already had 6 weeks we haven't used, so we can just start now or very soon, or continue to look. My opinion is that we start sooner rather than later.
Well said, Alan.
Yes, I think I agree. And I think right about 10:15, a member of the select board said, Rob, would 2 weeks kill you? And I did not look angsty enough in making a decision. But I think, to your point, we should make a decision. I have to go back to the select board at their next meeting and report on what we want to do. And so that is going to be, I think, where we would have the discussion and the vote. And I'm hoping we can do that pretty quickly
Tonight.
How much time do we actually have to spend the money?
So to answer that question, because it was discussed at the select board, I believe, it has to be spent by June 30th, 2023. However, because it's split across 2 fiscal years, we have until June 30th, 2022 to spend some of the money. So we are not only caught by, a long deadline for final deliverable, but also on a short deadline where we have to get an RFP, get someone lined up, and spend some of that money before the end of this fiscal year.
And this is $50,000 we're talking about here.
It's actually 45,000.
With the 5,000 coming from the EDC budget. That's perfect.
No. We're going to have to adjust that as well, and that was going to be one item that we would end up talking about for the discussion and take a vote.
Okay.
Marika, I see your hand raised.
Yeah, I just want to clarify to Matt. So Claire applied for a $50,000 grant. We received $45,000. Then the state basically is giving us $12,000 to use in fiscal year 2022. And the remainder, $33,000, will be available for fiscal year 2023. And if I understood correctly from the Board of Selectmen meeting, because when Claire applied, she had submitted a budget for $50,000. They now are saying that budget should be revised because we're only getting $45,000. So we need to have that discussion tonight and decide how to allocate that.
Yep, and that was item 3 on the agenda. And so I'm hoping that can be pretty quick as well. Now, Marika, I know I talked probably more than I should about the select board meeting. Do you have a coordinator's report next up on the agenda?
Well, very quickly, I think you touched on everything. I just wanted to say that an email was sent out, a request for information or feedback was sent out to the planning board, capital committee, and SHOPSI with the expression of interest. None of them have had a chance to discuss it in during their committee meetings. I did get feedback from Mr. Malinowski, chair of Capital Planning Committee, that they are generally very interested in Route 9 projects, and especially if there should be some capital investments later on for a wastewater system. They also would like to, they're also looking at zoning and, not zoning, sorry, they call it like a road project connecting the MBTA station to Route 9. So they were wondering if that could be somehow, if we could take that into account. But anyways, they will put it on the agenda and they're happy to discuss this with us at a later date. And then I received an email from Mimi Luttrell, and I spoke to Karina, the town planner, and she informed me that planning board will have it on their agenda on February 7th. So that's all. I haven't heard from SHOPSI yet.
Okay, I do think the thank you, Marika. The select board was very clear. We have done our due diligence. We've gotten in touch with the boards. We'll collect that feedback. It might not change our expression of interest much, but they are our partners. Even though we are taking a lead role, it's a town-wide application. So the feedback from them is important, not only now for the expression of interest, but the application as well. And so I feel like we've taken care of that and at least gotten on their agendas. And I think if I have my dates correct, like I said, it was a long meeting. The date that we were looking at for submission was going to be the 11th, because I believe that there's a capital meeting on the 10th. Moving through the agenda for the discussion and the EEA planning grant. Alan, you had a very good point about project management. The select board said the decision is up to us. And so while I was there, I did say that we would have a further discussion. Some members of the select board feel that someone with an expertise in wastewater and sewerage might be a benefit, because there might be further projects happening along Route 9. And if we have them participate now, they might be useful going forward. Mm-hmm. I think one other member of the select board basically felt that it should be our decision, since we are the people who had applied for the grant, and we would be using some of our own capital money from our budget to employ that project manager. So as I said, the decision is up to us. Alan?
Okay, so first off, I want to withdraw a bit of my fervor from my previous comment. I didn't know the window to spend the money was as long as you had then stated. So I still stand behind the comment, but I think maybe the urgency maybe is not as urgent as I had stated. However, these studies are not brief. These studies do take time. If we owe the select board a report in 2 weeks, then I think 2 weeks is probably ample time to decide if we're going to screen candidates, and we do it. If we don't, then we don't. But if we have to, then we should. Then that will be enough time. My concern is the amount of money we're going to allocate for project management, I forgot what that number was. I don't think it's open-ended. I think it's a portion because we want to reserve as much as we can for the study itself, correct?
Well, we're not actually using any of the 45. We actually have to do a match to that 45, which ends up being somewhere in the neighborhood of 11,000.
Right, like 11,250 or something
Yeah.
like that. And
Yeah.
that's that portion right there. That's what we're going to use to fund the project management of this.
No, we're not using, it's my understanding that we're not going to use all of it because, as an example, if the consultants that we're working with are having a meeting with our DPW director, those hours of the DPW director count towards the match. And some of Marika's hours will count towards the match. So I do not believe that we are going to be out of pocket with cash for 11,250, but it's the administration of tracking those hours, setting up meetings, and all of that. So
I guess to put another way, are we going to set an upset limit as a committee about how much we're going to pay a person to manage the project that is this? I'm being careful to not say project manage. I'll tell you why I'm asking. I'll be transparent here, is because all we would need to do is look at the total fee, right, that we would be expected to pay someone. And we look at what a going hourly rate of a project manager, specifically with sewage and wastewater experiences. It's very easy to pull those rates. And we do some quick division. And that's the amount of hours that we're going to have to spend for this. And if we think that number's awfully low, then that tells us that finding someone specifically with sewage experience, while a laudable effort, is going to reduce the amount of time that someone can spend on this versus someone who's got a good amount of experience in having done these kinds of grants before, but might not be a wastewater expert. And that's the balance I want to surface here. That's all.
I wish I had thought of that in front of the Board of Selectmen, the Select Board, when I was there last night, because that's a very good point. Because a project manager with sewer expertise is going to have a higher hourly rate than,
Absolutely.
Now that's a very good point. Very good point. And the thing is, at least within our budget, we do have other contracted services set aside. I don't think we want to set aside all of fiscal year 23's money for it. And there still might be some left over in fiscal year 2022. If I could, Marika, do you happen to know how much we have left?
Yeah, we have about 9,000 for fiscal year 22.
In other contracted services?
Yes.
Okay. I don't see us having a consultant for $9,000 worth in the first year. So we can still use some of that, correct?
Yes, we can. But I just also want to add that we are going to hire an engineering firm with wastewater expertise. We are not, that's my understanding. The project manager is going to basically project manage this project. So they're going to work with the engineers, with the town, different town personnel, with the state, the grant agency, to get this project done, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
what you're suggesting is that maybe because we're going to be working with an engineering firm that has wastewater expertise, the person project managing doesn't necessarily need to have it?
Yes, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Doesn't need to be an engineer to project manage the grant.
Yeah. I was thinking that exact thing, but my only question is who selects the firm that's going to do the work? Because that's the most important thing here, right? I mean, if we pick a good firm, the project manager doesn't need to know anything about wastewater, frankly.
Well, that would be the project manager in cooperation with myself, with DPW, with Board of Health, because they have that experience. They work with these companies, and then like how we did it last time with the downtown. We have to, of course, the project manager will write an RFP and send it out, and look at which firm we want to hire, and then we go through the town process to the Board of Selectmen will ultimately hire the engineering firm.
Right, but the project manager is not left to their own devices to write the RFP. They're going to have lots of input from lots of people, right?
Correct.
Yeah, so I mean, the idea of a project manager with wastewater experience being necessary for what you just described doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, that you wouldn't find that even if you looked, you might not. I mean, people who have wastewater expertise, they work for wastewater engineering firms. They're not project managers. So I think that suggestion doesn't make a lot of sense. And I think you just need somebody who's organized, detailed, and can coordinate meetings and can kind of move the process along. I mean, that's a distinct skill set that has nothing to do with the content of the project itself, frankly. So I think. I don't think we need to spend time looking for somebody with that expertise because there's so many other cooks in the kitchen that they're not going to need it.
Very
Well
good
said.
point. Yeah.
Should we vote and make a nomination of who should do it?
I would entertain a motion. I do have to report back to the select board with the decision. And so I think it's a two-part, which could potentially be done as one. The first part is the level of expertise for the project manager, whether or not it's just simple project management or whether or not we had to get that higher skill set, which would obviously be at a higher cost per hour and we get less for our money, as Alan suggested. So I think it depends upon the motion. I would entertain a motion to say, leaving it up to, Marika. I would take, if you had some suggestions about who might be a good project manager.
I'd be glad to make a motion.
Okay.
I think we've got some excellent experience right at hand. Claire Reynolds, she's the most meticulous, thorough person that we have in many regards at these matters, and demonstrated her ability to get things done in government, the paperwork and getting things to move forward. She's very good at this, and we don't have to find somebody else, and hopefully they might understand how to do things. But here we've got somebody who's in the lineup who understands the process, understands the play, and she's connected throughout the various committees. Like she's the administrative assistant, if you will, for the advisory board. She's well connected, so she can leverage speed and efficiency in a way that we don't have to ponder. If we go try to find somebody, we'll spend days trying to find somebody, and they won't know anybody in town hall. They won't know the players. And Claire's in the starting block, ready to go. And her competence, energy, thoroughness has demonstrated all during the efforts to get the bylaw passed at town meeting is very applaudable. We couldn't have done it without her and Marika, and as a team. That's the other piece of it. She's already linked into us. She knows what we want. She knows how to get it done in town. And she works well with Marika. And my recommendation is that she become a nominee and that we vote on it and tonight.
Yeah, so if I could, your motion is that the EDC has Claire Reynolds as our project manager for the EEA grant. I shortened what you said just a little bit. I hope you don't mind, but that's the genesis of what you're hoping to make a motion on.
Sure, yeah.
I second that motion as phrased.
Excellent. So motion on the floor to have Claire Reynolds as the project manager for this particular grant. Is there any more discussion on the motion?
I have one comment on it, that if the motion carries, then it might make sense to see if Claire is available at the next Board of Selectmen meeting when we bring forth that recommendation. Because if for any reason there's a question about it, what I don't want us to do is then have to say, gee, let's take that back to Claire, and then wait 2 weeks to ask, and then come back 2 weeks later, and then wait 2 weeks, and then 2 weeks, and then 2 weeks, and 2 weeks turns into 22 weeks. So if there is live discussion that's necessary and the person we're bringing forward, it would be great if that person could be at the meeting with you.
Yes. And I'm going to have to look it up because I don't have it right at my fingertips. I believe the next Board of Selectmen meeting is the 15th. Claire, are you on the call with us?
She is.
She is.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for the vote of confidence. Yes, I would be available for that meeting.
Well, we still have to vote, but
Yeah.
but yes. I'm just thinking just in terms of expediency, that's all.
Yeah. And they did say they'd move me up closer to the beginning of the agenda. So I'm going to hold them to that. It was a long meeting. So we have a motion. Claire is with us. We've had the discussion. I'm going to take a roll call vote as I see them. Chris,
Yes,
Matt,
Yes.
Ellen,
Yes.
Rob, yes, unanimous. So excellent. So we have addressed that. I think the one other thing on the EEA grant is that Marika, and we may have to go back and listen to the select board meeting again. They did have a couple of changes to the document that you had said, such as the project manager activities. There was some language that was perhaps a little bit more commanding that I think we want. In the document, it says the lead project plan and the project manager would actually award the contract. That perhaps needs to come out or be removed because it's the town select board that actually awards the contract.
So yeah, so I think Mark Purple said he would edit that because it wasn't clear enough in the documents. However, it has been the process in past during past projects that everything goes through the town's purchasing office or officer. And the Board of Selectmen signs off on any consultant that gets hired. So, but definitely, yeah, I'll touch base with Mark Purple, see when I can get that from him.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, it's I just want to make sure that, as Ellen says, when we end up in front of them again, we don't have another delay because.
Yeah.
We've gotten the documents from the state. We know who's going to be project managing. I think you came up with a great document on the reallocation of the funds.
Yeah. Sorry.
Could you talk to that for 1 second?
Yeah, so basically, so if I understood Chelsea, a member of the select board, correctly, is that was her ask of us to discuss how we will adjust the budget allocated in this grant. So because we're not getting 50,000, but we're getting 45,000. So generally, I think these wastewater projects are quite expensive. If you look at other towns, I mean, we can do some more comparisons. So we have a choice of either, I mean, it's up to the committee, but I think she wanted us to discuss this if we want to reduce everything by a percentage. So the total is 45,000. the other option was to supplement the budget with EDC money from contracted services. So we stick with the 50,000 and we stick with the, I guess, the budget that we had sent in our application.
And if I may, Marika, I think when we think about this, it's the 45,000 plus the 11,250 match. So we're actually thinking about a project that in total scope is just about 56,000.
Yeah, so I'm keeping the match separate. Because the match funding will be the project manager fee and in-kind services fees or hours. And I think when we put in the application, we also looked at possible CPC funding. And of course, the match amount is now less because it's 25% of 45,000 as opposed to 25% of 50,000. But if we just look at the grant money itself, the 45,000 spread over these 2 fiscal years, Claire had put in a whole budget, like what the grant money would be spent on. So either and I think she worked on some proposal where she reduced certain numbers so we can, we don't spend more than the 45,000 basically.
Yeah, and the thing that I know with all grants from experience is that if we go in and we ask for a deliverable that's going to cost 45, we will get that deliverable at the end. And as long as we have some funds within our EDC contracted services bucket for any last minute changes, I think we should be fine. I think what Chelsea had wondered is we had 9 tasks listed in the budget, and she was wondering if we had to remove any of those 9. I think all 9 are doable. I think all 9 are doable with the 45,000. And I also think that depending upon the EDC's contracted budget, which I think we have at 7,500 spread over the 2 fiscal years, if we need a little bit more to get the product that is best serving the town, we have that capability within our own budget. So I think what you had provided to us today with the adjustment looks fine to me.
Okay.
Now, I do think I would like, oh, Claire, I see your hand is raised.
Yeah, thanks, guys. The notion of rewriting a contract is fine. The Board of Selectmen can write any kind of contract that they want. However, anybody who listened to the Board of Selectmen meeting January 18th, it looked like, they made it look like, and this is all on tape, guys, and I hate to bring this up, but they made it look like I went ahead, bypassed the procurement process, and then awarded the contract. You guys need to understand, I went through the procurement process starting with Mark Purple, and then he pushed it over to Lori Esposito, who was excellent. So I went through the procurement process. The second part of it was there was an inference, however you want to put it, that I awarded the contract. Nothing could be more incorrect. It was scheduled, the awarding the contract was scheduled on the Board of Selectmen's agenda 2 times. They voted the award to Weston and Sampson.
And that was for the downtown study, correct? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, to your point,
It's a little, yeah, okay.
yeah, we have no control over the final awarding of the contract.
Exactly.
I think what we do have control over is the use of our budget. And I think what I want to feel comfortable that the EDC board understands is that we still can, we had written a budget for 50,000 with 9 tasks. We got 45,000. Our goal is still to achieve those 9 tasks with the 45,000 that we got instead of the 50. Does that make sense?
I just, I have no comment, Rob. I just think that they knew at the January 18th meeting, they knew exactly how everything had been handled with that grant. I had received several comments from Kurt Gartner at EEA in terms of the thoroughness of the reporting. If anybody thinks that I overstepped or there was some creep with project management of that grant, they are totally incorrect. And that was,
agreed.
if anybody goes back and looks at the meeting on the 18th, that's very, very clear. It is a little bit strange that the original contract that I had for the first grant was working under the direction of the EDC and their coordinator. And that's how the whole thing worked out.
Right. So
I think she's bringing clarity to a situation, and it's clear that there's no confusion going forward if there was somebody who said something that was not correct.
Exactly.
Your clarity puts it on the record, and we can move forward and just get going.
yes, that is the key thing that I would like us to accomplish here. So if I could, we have in the document that Marika has sent on the grant allocation and the adjustment of funds from 45 to 50. We still, from 50 to 45, my apologies. We still have 45,000 to award to a engineering firm to take a look at the wastewater. We do have an in-kind match of town staff and the hours used there, as well as the project management, to make sure that the town delivers its match and we get a document that will be useful at the end. Because I don't know if the select board is going to say, did you guys take a vote on the new allocation and the ability to achieve the 9 items listed in the document that Marika said for, let's call it CYA. I would entertain a motion from someone that the EDC feels comfortable with the allocation of 45,000 to achieve everything outlined in the grant request for 50,000.
Well, I'll support that.
I'll second.
Okay, I've got a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yeah, just clarification. We did vote for Claire, correct? With the unanimous vote.
Yes. That was the first one. This has to do with the budget.
Right, good.
And Chelsea had asked, because they had taken $5,000 away from us, what would we remove from our budget of the 9 items? Alan,
Thank you. So I have a question as part of the discussion. If the $5,000 has been taken away, why do we have to vote on the 45? Like,
no, well,
we can't say no. I mean, we don't have 50. We have 45.
yeah, yes. Well, the question that was asked of me was, given the fact that we had $5,000 less, what would we remove from the 9 items?
Okay.
And I think we can achieve all 9 of them. The technical assistance, meeting and project management, research with a local DPW, research with the relevant agencies.
Yeah. So the motion then is I guess I'm not trying to withdraw and rephrase someone else's motion, but I just want to make sure I understand it. We need to collectively agree that our response is yes, we can do what you asked.
Yes.
That's really what we're voting on. Okay. Not
That's-
are we okay with 45? Because no, I'm
Yeah,
not
no.
okay with 45. Well, I'm okay with 50. But
Yeah.
that's not
No,
what we're voting on. Okay.
You hit the nail on the head, and you hit the nail on the head, that we
Okay.
can accomplish what we want to with the 45, and we feel comfortable with it.
Okay. If we have to vote on that as a board, perhaps that can be just because this is being recorded and will likely be audited. We just want to make sure we're following the right Robert's Rules of Orders and we're voting on the right things.
Yeah.
My suggestion is that we withdraw the previous motion and resubmit a new motion that more clearly outlines what we're supposed to be voting on.
Yes. Chris, do you withdraw your motion?
Sounds good. Nice response, Alan. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
So we've withdrawn the motion. Do I have a new motion to say that the EDC feels comfortable achieving everything within the $45,000 budget?
So moved, as Rob stated.
I'll second it.
Okay, we'll have some votes as I see them. Chris,
Yes.
Alan,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Rob, yes. Okay, passed unanimously.
Did we
Okay,
have a discussion?
no, that's the end of that thing on the agenda.
Okay, great.
Okay,
Good.
so let's see. ARPA funding opportunities.
Can you
I
tell
was-
us what ARPA stands for?
Oh,
That's not a quiz. Keep going. It's a federal grant, right?
it is.
American Rebuilding and something Act.
American Rescue Plan Act.
Plan Act. There it is. Yep.
Thank you, Marika.
Yeah. So I was hopeful that John would be here because he is the EDC's representative on the ARPA committee. They're actually meeting right now. And I think what I was hopeful is that we could come up with some initiatives and ideas about how those funds could be useful to economic development. I know that Julie had some ideas on that subject, but I don't think we want to take a vote tonight with only 4 of the 7 members. But I was just wondering to the group if there are any ideas from the people here, so we can start building a list to share with the ARPA committee.
I think having John here is important. He'll give us a better context of what we need to do. Unless Marika has information we don't.
Yeah, I was really hoping John would be here because he's the one who knows it best. I think one of the things important to me that I noticed that Julie had put in hers is the connectivity of trails from a downtown quality of life perspective. Getting people to want to walk to our downtown to support the businesses and the development that we hope to see there is really useful in connecting to the active outdoor benefits that come along with hiking, trails, and connectivity. And that's something that has long-term sustainability, because there are always going to want to be people out walking around our town, getting exercise and things like that. So from my perspective, if some ARPA funds could be allocated towards trails, I think that's one of the things that is important to me. And that's the type of conversation that I was hoping to have with John here, so he could bring that back to the ARPA committee.
Yeah, can I?
Yes, Chris.
Yeah, I think the trails issue, is that what you just talked about?
Yes, yeah.
Well, just know, a few years ago, a company came to Marlboro and said they're interested, but they needed amenities. And one of the amenities was trails, exercise places in the outdoors. There was a host or a list of things that attracts companies and enables their employees to do some things that energize them during the workday, whether it's a walk, a picnic. I think these things we think they're frivolous, but they're not. And they're critical to recruiting businesses. And we can demonstrate we've got trails, we've got other kinds of amenities I can't think of from the top of my head, but I think that is so important.
Yep. No, and so I suppose we do have it on the agenda, and like I said, I was hoping John would be here. I guess the element of homework for people is to think about those things that are important to you, and you think would be important to economic development in the town. I think some of Julie's other ideas are sidewalks, wastewater. I'm sure that there
Basketball
are
courts.
yeah. There is some money to be spent. Marika.
Yes, thank you. So for the ARPA funding, I guess there are certain, certain things are eligible for this money. Southborough was awarded about $3 million to allocate this to different causes. So just like very broadly, and I know there's much more detail in their presentations and whatnot that exactly outlines what you can use it for. But I know talking to John, some of the things that were brought up, for instance, were like infrastructure related. So it could be related to our downtown, infrastructure, helping small businesses with the potential, I guess, small business grant funding for local small businesses to help them through this, because they're still struggling. And then, like you said, trails, making it more walkable, connectivity, walkability in our downtown, and even maybe along Route 9, certain sections. But I can, maybe John should come in and kind of explain the details. But
yeah, so I think, and I'm not sure what the timing is on when the ARPA decision has to be made. But I think based upon the fact that we will have made a submission to the One Stop by the next time we meet, we'll have everything cleaned up on the EEA grant, that the ARPA discussion be a top of mind and top issue for us to discuss. John can report back on the meeting he had tonight, and we can also come forward with more ideas to help guide economic development and using ARPA funds to do that. So because of that, I think that is the end of the discussion on ARPA, unless anyone else has any other comments.
Rob?
Yeah.
clarify something. Did somebody just say Southborough got $3 million?
Yes.
How did that happen?
Every community in Massachusetts got some money as part of the ARPA grant program.
So we didn't submit an application and then they sent us 3 million.
No.
The state had $1 billion and they said, Southborough, you're getting 3 million.
Something like that happened. Yes.
Wonderful.
Now the one thing, and John is going to John would put it much better than I would, but we have that $3 million to think about what we want to do and how we want to spend it. However, there are more ARPA funds out there at the federal level that we could actually go after to help and supplement those local initiatives that we undertake. So in viewing how we think about spending those local ARPA funds, we also have to think about the potential for going after more money from the federal government.
It's wonderful. And you know what? It's a great way of bringing all the committees together and saying, come on, let's get it together. We've got a chance to do significant investments in making our town full of amenities that will attract businesses and other residents and dress it up in ways that we've never done before. And I think it's a great rally opportunity to bring us all together to say, hey, you know, Santa Claus is here and delivered a gift that we couldn't imagine. And let's do a first-class job bringing the key committees together to say, let's just not throw darts at this thing and just say anything. Let's put something together that's going to have a lasting impact and not just money spent and we don't know where it went or how it went. So
yeah, I mean, this is a once in a lifetime chance to do what we want to do, I guess, collectively as a town to fix whatever problems we have. Like I'm sort of, it just didn't hit me until now that we got $3 million by doing nothing and we could get more money by doing something. And this is never, ever going to happen again. We're never going to get this chance again. And so it just really comes down to everyone's got to align priorities and get on the same page or this opportunity will pass us by, never to be seen again in a generation at least. So
yeah, and
wow.
It could help address the sewer challenge on Route 9. So
I mean, that's the elephant in the room, right? I mean, now the question is, does everybody want to address that problem? That's because if they did, well, then this conversation is a short one. But that's the rub. But yeah, I mean, it's extraordinary. It's really exciting, and I hope we make the most of it.
Yeah, and Chris, I 1 second. I know we chose wisely with John because he's been on Capitol. He was involved, I think, with the public safety building, which I think is a shining example. It's a great facility. It's in the right location. It's so much better than what we had. So I'm hopeful that the ARPA committee takes a look at all sorts of initiatives, but also remember that for sustainability, and we're talking economic sustainability, we need to start thinking about some of those things tied in with economic development. The trails are one, sewer, sidewalks, amenities are others. And maybe that's what we'll devote our conversation to coming up at our next meeting. And with that, I'm going to jump to administrative business, the approval of the meeting minutes for January 6th.
I recommend they be passed and make a motion to do so.
Second.
Okay, I've got a motion and a second. Any discussion on the minutes? No. Okay, good. We'll take a vote. As I see them on the screen. Chris,
Yes,
Alan,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Rob, yes. Okay, so we've done that. Let me take a look at the agenda. I think next up we have unfinished business. I don't think we have any unfinished
Really,
business. We've
I've
talked
got
about a
one
lot.
comment.
Oh, yeah.
I just want to say, I hope everybody listening or who are involved in that special town meeting realize what it took to succeed in winning that vote. This team right here, and those who aren't with us tonight, worked their tails off. And this town came together and got a 2/3 vote. That is not just, oh, another day in town meetings. That was a significant, hard fought, not fought, collective effort that brought this community together to do something that they all wanted. And the residents get the credit because they finally said, yes, we've got to move forward. And we just got to remind ourselves this Route 9 is the challenge of a lifetime to finally get this doing. And we've been selected by the board to be the point people to rally this town to go forward. And it's an enormous responsibility. And I feel so confident with the team that we've got. And I just want to say that whenever we send out minutes, one of the things, because of the financial challenges we have, is that in every set of minutes and memos that go out, it shows all the grants and funds we have already brought in to date. And I think finally the select board has realized, and members of this community, oh my gosh, look what they brought in. That's not chicken feed. That's real earnest money and worked hard for. And I think we need to continue to push that message forward and carry this next edition of helping us do Route 9 in a way that we did this special town meeting. So thank you for listening.
Oh, no, Chris. And I would be remiss if I didn't say it was not only a 2/3 vote, but it was close to 3/4. I think we got 73% of the vote.
Yeah.
So that is above and beyond what we were expecting. And I think you were right in saying those people who aren't here tonight, particularly Julie Connolly, were instrumental in making sure that that passed. I also think it demonstrates the collaborative nature of us working with the select board and the planning board to get things that benefit the whole town. So with that, no unfinished business. I don't think we have any new business. We do have some people in the audience. Well, we have one person in the audience. Marcy, if you would like to speak, raise your hand. Okay, it doesn't look like we'll be having any public comment tonight. Our next meeting is scheduled for Friday, February 18th at 8:15 in the morning. I think ARPA is going to be the topic of the day at that point in time. It will be after the Board of Selectmen select board. So I'll report back on the EEA grant and make sure that the one stops on its way to Boston. So with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
Second.
Okay, got a motion and a second. I'm going to go as I see them. Chris,
Yes.
Alan,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Rob, we're unanimous. Thank you, everyone. Marika, Claire, thank you.
Thank you both.
And I'll see everyone on Friday the 18th.
All right. Have a great night.
All right. Thank you.